Hey everybody, it's Pat and welcome to another video. Today we're taking a look at my pedal board. Now it's been about a year and a half since I made my first and only pedal board video, and my pedal board has changed considerably since then. It's been through a lot of different iterations, but I'm in a really cool place right now. I really like the way it's set up, so I thought it'd be cool to make an update video to show you what it's like right now, how it sounds, and how it's set up. Now I'm the lead singer and guitarist in a band called Horse Dog, and my pedal board kind of reflects the fact that I play mostly rhythm guitar. I have some lead parts here and there, but most of what I do is just play rhythm, and that's why I have 3 different overdrives. There's nothing crazy on my pedal board. There are no experimental pedals or anything like that. It's really a utility pedal board where I have, gains, I have octaves, and I have a reverb and 1 delay. But it's still an interesting pedal board for someone who plays rhythm guitar, or for someone who has that spotlight every now and then that has to play lead guitar. It can still do that. It can get really loud, really gainy, and super gnarly at some points. So basically I'm going to go through every single pedal, and intertwined with that there'll be some examples. Let's look at the guitars I'm playing, in what amps, and then we'll have a look at my pedal board. I have 2 main guitars when we play with Horse Dog, one of them being a Fender Pawn Shop 72. This is a hybrid between a Strat and a Telecaster, a Strat body on a Tele neck. It's got a little F-hole. It's kind of a Frankenstein weird guitar that doesn't have a tone knob or a pickup selector. It's actually a pickup knob. So if I'm all the way here, I'm on this pickup and I can blend what pickup I choose. There's kind of a notch here that gives me both of them. And if I go like this, I'm on this pickup here. To be honest, I only just use it like this for this pickup, and then because I'm busy singing and changing pedals and all that stuff, I'll sometimes just do that and go to this pickup. But yeah, I love this guitar. It's super weird. It's very rare. I don't see a lot of people with this guitar. It's also made in Japan. It's well made. I love playing with it. So yeah, this is my main guitar when I'm not playing the other one, which I'm about to show you. The other guitar that I play in almost half of the Horse Dog song is a baritone guitar. This is a Fender Blacktop Telecaster, made in Mexico. I bought this, I think, in 2012 or 2013, just because I wanted to see what a baritone was like, and it absolutely changed my life. A baritone is something absolutely awesome to own. If ever you're in the market for a new guitar, you don't know what to buy or something like that, try a baritone. It will blow your mind. The big string is a B, so is the small one. If you drop this down, you're in drop A. So that's like super heavy metal. But yeah, it really helps me sit between bass and guitar. It gives me that little sweet spot where I can go to bass, I can go to guitar. That's really awesome and unique. So I love this guitar. My guitars then go through my pedal board, which goes into 2 amps, a Vox AC30 CC1 and a Vox AC15 CC1. Both amps are mic'd up. They go into my Focusrite 2i2, which then goes into Logic. All right, let's get down to business. My first pedal is a Korg Pitch Black. That's as long as we're going to spend on that pedal. Super boring. Let's get to the fun stuff. The next pedal on my chain is the EHX Pitchfork. The way that I use it is kind of a digital capo. Now there's some songs I play with Horse Dog that are in C, and since this guitar is in B, it's kind of awkward to play. If you want to play a low C, you can't really do it unless you play like this, and this is really hard on the hands sometimes just to get that grip, because a baritone guitar is a lot tougher than a regular guitar. I used to play with a capo right here on the 1st fret, but again, because the strings are a lot bigger, it's a lot tougher for a capo to sound good, so I figured I will buy myself a digital capo. And the Pitchfork does that quite well. So this is my clean tone open B chord. And then when I engage the Pitchfork, I'm in C major all of a sudden. So the way that I have it set it up is that it's obviously on up right here, and it's set to major 2nd, so that's a full step. I also have it at 100%, and the latch is deactivated. So when I click on it, if ever I were to blend this, it would sound absolutely terrible. So I have it at 100% blend. You can hear that the sound is a little bit affected, but when you play as high gain as I do, nobody notices it. Next in the chain is the EHX Pog. In my opinion, there's nothing that compares having a distortion on top of a Pog, and I've tried a lot of different pedals. I've bought a couple pedals over the years just to try to achieve the same thing. I have a Boss OC3, I even have an MXR Custom Shop submachine, but in my opinion, there's not much that can ever top having a Pog and putting a distortion on top of it. The way I have it set up is that the dry is still at 100%, so you still hear my original dry signal. I also have the sub-octave at about 2 o'clock, so that's mostly what you hear on top of the dry. And just for fun, I also have the octave up at about 10 o'clock, so that you also hear a little bit of the octave up. After my Pog, there is yet another EHX pedal, and that is the Octavix. Octavix? Octavix? Octavix. Let's say Octavix. Octavix? Octavix? This is the most recent addition to my pedal board, and I'm still trying to figure out where I'm going to put it in my chain. I figured because these are octave pedals or pitch pedals, they need to be as early as possible in the chain, but you're supposed to put fuzzes very early in the chain too. That's why it's here. That's why it's even before the Phase 90. This is a nice reproduction of a vintage effect where you have a nice dirty fuzz and an octave up. So the octave is all the way up. I have it set at 24 volts here, and this is the volume and boost. They're set at about 2 and 10 o'clock, and it sounds like this. I mostly use this with my Pawn Shop 72. This is my latest edition. It's a lot of fun. It's super dirty, gets super gnarly, and I think I'm going to keep it on there for a while. After that one, we go straight into the MXR Phase 90. Now I have it set up at about 9 o'clock like this, so it's nice and slow, and it's also starving. What I mean by that is that when I hit it, you can see the light is really not as bright as the other LED lights. That's because the power cable that I have goes into one of the Voodoo Lab inputs that has a sag setting. I give it the minimum of power it needs to power up, because for me, if I give it the whole 9 volts, it's kind of overwhelming. After the Phase 90 comes the HBE Power Screamer. This is the first gain pedal I've ever owned, and it's recently made its way back onto my pedal board. Basically, you have a level, a gain, a tone here, and a 3-way sort of compressor, on-off switch, and a 10 dB boost. There's not much of a change in volume when I'm clean or when I have it engaged, and that is on purpose. Once I have this engaged, I still have enough headroom to go to another level if I'm playing leads or something like that. Once we're out of the Power Screamer, we go into yet another EHX pedal, the Turnip Greens. If you don't know what a Turnip Greens is, it's basically a soul food and a holy grail in the same pedal. I use the soul food for more of a dry, crisp, harsh overdrive. I use it more with my baritone than I do with this guitar, but it gives me 2 options, something that's a little bit more creamy and something that's a little bit more harsh and punchy. My approach to gain pedals, and the reason why I have 3, is that I have a vintage fuzz sound. I have something that's more of a tube screamer, that's an all-around distortion, and then I have an overdrive that's more tailored to another guitar that I use, and then I can also add to my distortion as well. At this point, things get just a little bit complicated, and I want to dedicate a whole little quickie video on my wet-dry setup, but let me explain it to you very quickly. Basically, we go out of the send here into the input of the Big Shot ABY. I have this on here because I use 2 amps and I have a wet-dry setup. So at this point, everything that you've seen and heard here goes out of the send into the ABY input and then out to the Vox AC15. That's my dry amp. So if you solo that amp, you will only hear a dry sound. There's no reverb on the amp, and you can't hear the reverb or the delay if I have those engaged. So dry signal goes out of there, and the output then goes into my Boss DD3. I use 2 settings. I have sort of a slapback, which is this. I also have a long delay, which sounds like this. Out of the DD3, we then go into the return of the turnip greens. So basically out of here, we go into the reverb part of the turnip greens. This is essentially a Holy Grail max. So you have spring, hall, plate, and reverse. I use the plate reverb because I already have a spring reverb on my wet amp, and the plate is kind of my other favorite one. Reverse is really interesting, super cool, but plate is the one that I like using. When I have the reverb turned off, there's still a little bit of reverb that comes from my wet amp. So that's it. That is my whole pedal board, the one I've been using recently with Horse Dog. The only thing I think I'm going to remove is the ABY switch. I think I'm going to put that over close to my amps, because if while I'm playing I accidentally click the both button while I want to activate the overdrive on my Soul Food, that will turn off one of the amps and solo the other one, which is something I don't want. I always want to be playing with both amps together. Finally, something I'd like to add to my board at some point is a switcher, something like a Gig Rig QMX8 or even a Gig Rig G2 or something like that. As a singer, sometimes I do a lot of tap dancing, and it'd be nice just to set up all my sounds, have them programmed, and just hit one button to change the sound completely. Otherwise, right now, I love the way my pedal board is set up. It serves my purpose as a rhythm player and as a singer. It does what it needs to do. I have a lot of different options, and it also can get completely crazy if I need to. But that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed having a look at my rig and my pedal board. If you did, please leave a like on your way out. If you hated it, let me know why in the comments below. Subscribe if you haven't, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.